Assalamualaikum dear students. We are talking about chapter number 7. We are talking about active readers. In last lecture, I talked about that how we can control our reading process and what kind of things we should keep in our mind when we are reading. In summary, we can say that how we can become good readers, effective readers. So, our next topic is about skimming and scanning, different kinds of strategies that we use in order to become a good reader. But before I talk about this thing, I remember in our last lecture, I talked about reading for pleasure and reading when you have certain goals, for content, for ideas. So there is a poem written by Robert Southey, The Cataract of Lador. So I would like to read it for you, just a little bit of its chunk, So it's about basically, cataract, water is coming down, there is a stream, and when the water is moving, it is creating different kind of sounds, and the poet has tried to capture all these sounds in English language. So it is telling that how the water is coming down. So let me read. From its sources which well in the tarn on the fell, from its fountains in the mountains it rills and its gills. Through moss and through brake it runs and it creeps, for a while till it sleeps in its own little lake, and thence at departing, awakening and starting, it runs through the reeds, and away it proceeds through meadow and glade, in sun and in shade, and through the wood shelter among crags in its flurry, helter skelter, hurry scurry. Here it comes sparkling, and there it lies darkling, now smoking and frothing, its tumult and wrathing, till in it this rapid face, on which it is bent, it reaches the place of its steep descent. The cataract strong then plunges along, striking and raging as if a war raging. Its caverns and rocks among, rising and leaping, sinking and creeping, swelling and sweeping, showering and springing, flying and flinging, writhing and ringing, adding and whisking, spouting and frisking, turning and twisting around and around, with endless rebound, smiting and fighting, a sight to delight in, confounding, astounding, dizzying and deafening the ear with its sound, collecting, projecting, receding and speeding, and shocking and rocking, and darting and parting, and threading and spreading, and whizzing and hissing, and dipping and skipping, and hitting and splitting, and rattling and battling, and shaking and quaking, and pouring and roaring, and waving and raving, and tossing and flossing, and flowing and going, and running and stunning, and foaming and roaming, and dining and spining, and dropping and hopping, and working and jerking, and guggling and struggling, and heaving and cleaving, and moaning and groaning. So this is, this is the kind of reading that you do for pleasure purposes. So sometimes we read for pleasure in order to take pleasure from literature. We are the students of linguistics and literature. So when you are reading Shakespeare, sometimes you do read for pleasure as well. For example, different kinds of soliloquies of, Shakespeare. No doubt there is lot of wisdom in them, and one can get lot of wisdom from them. But at the same time, you can read them for pleasure as well. So when you are reading it for pleasure, you are altogether different. Of course, you are not supposed to go to the, ideas, the content. You are trying to enjoy. So believe me, these days, it's the month of Ramadan. I love to listen to the Holy Quran. And I see the same kind of, rhythm in the Holy Quran. Allah Almighty not only talking about different kinds of things, but there is rhythm in the, recitation of the Holy Quran as well. Okay, now we should come back to different kinds of strategies that we can use while skimming and scanning, okay? So we skimming is a quick reading to get a general idea or overall impression of what is covered, you know. Skimming is a big picture strategy. For this purpose, you can go through the headings, you can go through the topic sentences, you can go through the, you know, subheadings given in the text, you can go through some of the text which is in bold face, you can go through the text, you know, which is italicized. So in this way you can get the overall idea. Different kinds of headings, they will tell you what the author is talking about. And other strategy is called scanning. So scanning is a quick reading to find a specific fact or piece of information. Scanning is a detailed strategy. So in every, you know, paragraph, you are trying to find out some specific things. And then you relate those specific things, okay, to the bigger picture which is being created by the author. So we apply different kinds of strategies in order to become active readers. You know, when we are reading, sometimes they are bigger paragraphs, sometimes they are smaller paragraphs. So when you are reading, there is always a topic. You read the topic, okay? The poem that I have just read, I was reading it for pleasure purposes, you know, but all these words, they are being created, you know, intentionally. And the author is talking about how cataract stream is walking, okay, the water is moving, okay. So when you are reading, you are skimming and scanning, you are trying to get the overall picture, you are reading for, you know, detailed understanding. Your comprehension is very important. So different kinds of headings, the style of the author, something which is in bold face, something which is italicized, okay, all these things will help you a lot. Different kinds of diagrams, tables which have been drawn by the, you know, authors, they will help you to understand the text, and we need to go through them. So reading strategies, find or start a study group. This is very important. Some of the studies you do alone, when you are sitting alone, okay, you are interacting with the text, you are trying to understand, you are using your cognitive and metacognitive abilities to understand the text, you are using your energies, you have got set timetable, you are free of distractions, you have got certain goals, and you want to attain those goals. So find or start a study group. Then along with this strategy, you should have a smaller group of like-minded people, of like-minded friends with whom you can discuss that this is what I have read. The 5 pages that you have read, you can summarize those 5 pages, okay, with your study group. And you can ask them that they should share what they have read. And they can talk about, they can summarize, okay, what is their understanding. Or you can ask 2 different people to read the same kind of text, and then you can sit together and you can share your notes. And in this way you can interact, and you can come to know what is their understanding and what is your understanding. And in this way you can interact and you can understand the text in a better way. You can relate it with your own experiences. Ask questions. So second reading strategy will be, you know, asking questions, raising questions. What the author is saying, is it acceptable to you or not? Or some other ideas are coming to your mind. You are interacting with the text, you are raising questions. Are you getting their answers in the text, or you need to discuss them in the classroom with your teacher? So third is talk through the material with a study partner. I have just told you, your study partner, your, you know, group fellows, your friends, they also play a very important role. Discuss with them that this is what you have read and this is what your understanding is, and then share it with your friends and ask them that they should also share with you that what is their understanding, what they have, you know, understood. Or are there new questions which are coming out of your readings? If you are not getting their answers from the text, from the group members, decide now that in the next class you are going to raise these questions in the classroom, okay, and you will be asking their answers from the teacher. So develop these study skills, you know. Once you develop these study skills, throughout your 7 or 8 semesters that you are going to study in BS, you won't be having any problem. So study skills, managing your time, making the most of your time, be flexible, be honest, all these qualities, if you inculcate in yourself, of course, you will become a very good person, not only in the university, but outside the university as well. If you inculcate these habits in you, you will never have any problem in your practical life. You are doing a job, your boss is asking you, okay, to go through this document and summarize it, okay, and then share with me your understanding and come make your points, okay, so that we should have discussion about that document. So you will never face any kind of problem there. And another strategy which is being discussed by Carol is use your dictionary. So using dictionary is also very important in your study skills, in your reading, habits. Making proper use of dictionary plays a very important role. These days mobiles have got dictionary, laptops have got dictionary, you can download Word dictionary, okay. I am forgetting, once I did a workshop for online teaching, and Nick Piche shared a website where any article you take, and if you click on the word, any difficult word, the definition of that word also pops up. But unfortunately right now I have forgotten that website. Little later, inshallah, I'll try to go through my notes and I'll try to share. Otherwise, Word you can download, and if you click on the word and then you click the word app, it will tell you the meaning of that word. But when you are consulting a dictionary, remember, you should not just consult it for meaning, you should also consult it for usage. Try to see whether this word is noun or adjective or adverb or verb, or it is a noun as well as a verb, okay. Then what are different kinds of its uses. Then whether this noun is countable or uncountable. If it is uncountable, you cannot use a or an. If it is countable, you are supposed to use a or an or the, okay. So making use of the proper use of the dictionary is also very important. Then sometimes words, they have different meanings. When the context changes, the meaning of the word changes. So we need to understand that how that word is being used in that particular context. And understanding the context is also very important. Later on I'll explain, but here I can say context means, the background knowledge. Something which is coming before the text or after the text. Background knowledge, okay. You are interacting with the text. Try to understand who has written this text, for whom that person has written this text, what is the agenda of producing this text, what are the aims and objectives of producing this text, why this particular text is being shared with you, why not with the other people. Ask these questions, interact with the text. So make a proper use of dictionary. So if you apply these reading strategies, you can become a very good reader. Making a study group, asking questions, okay, talking with the material, and reading often and reading variety of material. Yes, that's very important. You should have, your habit that every day you will be spending at least 1 hour for reading. Now, due to this COVID-19, all the teachers were sitting home. So I still made this sure that I should spend 2 to 3 hours daily for studies, for reading books. Now you can read books on Islam, you can read books on the Seerah of the Holy Prophet, you can try to understand the message of Allah Almighty by reading the Quran, okay, that what Allah Almighty is saying in the Holy Quran, and you can read your books which are related to your field, which are of interest to you. For example, I read 2 books on translation studies during these holidays, okay, along with the courses that I have done online, plus I was working on the synopses of my students. I was reading their work as well. So make a proper use of your time. Do not waste your time. So reading habits, how to develop them, and how to go with them, that's very important. So read often and read a variety of material, so that you should come across different kinds of vocabulary items. So you should not have any problem when you are interacting with any person. So next thing is that Carol talks about, improve your reading comprehension. Use strategies which will help you read for ideas. So reading for ideas, not just going through the words. Okay, coping with the words, interacting with the text, making notes, writing in the margin, raising questions. Read for ideas. To improve your reading, begin by learning how to find a paragraph's main idea. Now paragraph's main idea is usually, not always, is usually given in the very first or second sentence of the paragraph, that we usually call the topic sentence. So try to understand what is the text about, what the author wants to say, why he has written this text, okay, why he is interacting with you. A paragraph can be anywhere from 1 to several sentences long, and it may contain 3 types of sentences. Yes, the topic sentence is a direct statement of the author's main idea. So usually in English language, the topic sentence, it talks about that what is this paragraph about, what is the intention, what is the why the author has produced this paragraph, this text. The support sentences or supporting sentences contain major or minor details that develop or explain the main idea. So after the main idea, the author gives in 3 or 4 different sentences, supporting sentences, different kinds of examples, evidence, proof. And then the concluding sentence, which may restate the main idea, introduce a new topic, but relevant idea, relevant topic, make an inference, end the paragraph with another detail, or provide a transition to the next paragraph. So when you are reading, you should know that how you are going to cope with the text, how you are going to understand the material, how you are going to understand the ideas which are being discussed over there. So read for ideas, find the main idea, identify the supporting details, make inferences from reading. That's very important. Inferences are of 2 types, personal inferences and textual inferences. So when we are reading, interacting with the text, and we are active readers, we always make inferences. Try to understand, try to draw some conclusions out of the text that we are reading. So making inferences is very important. That what is the intention, what is the agenda of producing this text, what the author is saying, and what he is not saying. And by not saying, he is saying so many things. This is very important. Going beyond the sentence, reading between the lines, trying to understand different kinds of metaphors, different kinds of similes, figures of speeches, that how the author is making a relation, saying something here but creating a link with the history, talking about some previous knowledge that you may have read in the previous classes. So all these things are very important. Making inferences, very important. And in the last, part of the chapter, Carol talks about organizational patterns. All kind of writing can be divided into different kinds of genres and different kinds of organizational patterns. For example, sometimes you are writing an essay, sometimes you are writing a letter, sometimes an application, sometimes research article, sometimes thesis. All these are the genres of writing. Then they have got different kinds of organizational patterns, how the material is being organized. Sometimes there is a comparison and contrast, sometimes there is exemplification, sometimes there is classification, sometimes there are reasons. So you need to understand, and they will help you in understanding the text, that what kind of organizational pattern has been used by the author in this particular text. So there are 6 organizational patterns Carroll talks about. If two things are being compared, the pattern is comparison and contrast. So see that whether the author is making a comparison and contrast, giving similarities and differences about two different things, or what? Read to find similarities and differences. If an author explains why something happens, the pattern is cause and effect. The relationship will be cause and effect. Read to find reasons and results. So either author is talking about some problem and then he is giving solution, and after problem he is telling that what kind of other problems have been generated, okay, and then how to overcome those problems. So this is another kind of organizational pattern. If an author groups items into categories, the pattern is called classification, categorization. Okay? We always try to put similar items into similar categories. Okay? So we know, for example, about cars, about chairs, about fans, about televisions, about mobiles. They have got their own names, they have got their own similarities. Okay, books, composition books, storytelling books, poems, novels, dramas. So we can put them into different categories. So such type of things are called classification. Determine the number of categories and identify the characteristics of each category. So similar characteristics will make an item to go in the same category. If an author supports a main idea by giving examples, the pattern is called example or exemplification. Read to find key introductory phrases such as for example and for instance, and author usually time and again they use such type of phrases to give examples. If an author's details follow a certain order, the pattern is sequence. If things are given in order, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, lastly, firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, fifthly, lastly, so it means that he is giving the things in sequence. If an author provides an extended meaning of a word or a concept, the pattern is definition. Okay, so these were the 6 patterns that Carroll has talked about in the book. So these organizational patterns will also help you in understanding the text and in becoming an effective reader. An author who brings together more than one organizational pattern is in a single explanation is using mixed pattern. Okay, yes. If for example you are supposed to write an essay, and essay will be of 3,000 to 4,000 words, so it means that you are supposed to produce a bigger composition. Let's say you are writing for CSS. Okay, so then of course you may use mixed pattern organization. Sometimes you are supposed to give examples, sometimes you are supposed to use cause and effect relationship, sometimes you are supposed to make comparison and contrast. Okay, so when the author makes use of more than one organizational patterns, that is called mixed method organizational pattern. Lastly, the author talks about summarization and annotation, marking system, annotation or summarization. Basically, your writing skill teacher will be talking about summary writing in detail, but okay, let's talk about these things here as well. Annotation or marking system, highlighting are very important. When you are reading, it is very important that you highlight certain portion of the text, which will remind you that these things were something important, communicating the ideas of the author. Usually authors, they also use boldface or italicize certain things, phrases, clauses in the sentence. But students should also use, highlighters or underlining, which will remind you later on when you come to the text that there was something important here. And when you are making notes in the margin, this will remind you that when you interacted with the text, these ideas came in your mind, and they will help you prepare for the exam. So highlighting, underlining or marking system is also very important. And then summarizing, yes, you can summarize after 1 hour in bullet points some of the points that you have read, some of the things that you have understood. And these things will help you, in the preparation of your exam. And this way you can get good marks as well. So let me summarize now what we have covered in this lecture. We have talked about organizational patterns, that there are 6 organizational patterns. We have talked about marking system. We have talked about different kinds of strategies in order to become an effective reader. Active reader. Active reader is one who reads for the ideas. Active reader is one who has got, goals. He or she plans for them. He or she uses strategy. They interact with the text. They raise questions. They make groups, study groups. They discuss these things with their class fellows. They raise questions with their teachers. They highlight the, text. And they summarize in the end. Thank you very much.